lesson 67 through 75, part 8, shifting from Learn Violin Fast, book 3. At this point, you should have a good understanding of every possible variation of the left finger placements in first position, and also have a much better control of your bow and sound, as well as the rest of your posture and positions. The rest of this book will discuss more advanced techniques, mainly for the left hand. The more advanced techniques for the right hand are achieved on a virtuosic level of playing and are really outside the scope of this book. So why would you want to change and shift your positions? Right? Well, change your positions does a few very important things. It solves a string crossing problem when we try to avoid excessive string crossing. So for example, if you have a melody and just one note and you can't do it with the pinky, by shifting, we can avoid crossing strings, making it much smoother. It keeps the timbre of a melody more consistent. So if you're constantly switching around from strings, each string has a very particular color and timbre. So by jumping around a whole bunch, it definitely disturbs the continuity of the music. It provides a really cool virtuosic effect when you're moving around and you're shifting. It looks really cool. It sounds really cool. It's a very advanced technique. And also it allows for some expressive slides when appropriate. So there's no universally accepted notation for left-hand position. One of the challenges when you play music and you get music from different publishers, most often the capital Roman numerals are used, but Arabic numbers as well as just written out positions are always used. So if you're familiar with the Roman numerals, so like 1 is 1, 2 sticks is 2, 3 is 3, stick and a V is 4, V is 5. So the Roman numerals are very often used, but not always. Right? And question, can your left hand move if your fingers are exerting too much pressure on the violin's neck and if you're squeezing the fingers like crazy? So if you're squeezing and you're working really hard, can your hand move? And the answer, of course, is no. So now we're going to visualize positions. This is lesson 68. So if we look at the violin and we look at the chart in the book, right? If you have tapes, the first tape, so what names your position is your pointer. If your 1 is on the first tape, you're in first position, right? Your second tape is your second position. Third is your third position. Fourth tape is your fourth position, so on and so forth. All right, so now I want you to hold the violin like a guitar style, right? And basically just put your fingers down. Make sure you have a really good left hand position, that your hand is in neutral position. If you remember back to a book 1 lesson, right? We don't want it the palm facing up, the palm facing down. We want a hand to be neutral, right? Meaning this way. You're going to support the neck gently with your thumb and knuckle. You're not going to squeeze and grab the entire neck. You're still going to keep that space open. Okay? So, and then we're going to put a 1 in the first tape. We'll be on the D string, first position. If you slide to the second tape, you're in second position. If you slide to the third tape, you're in third. If you slide to the fourth tape, you're in fourth position. And so I'm going to stand and backwards so you could see on the G string, this is G. This is first because my pointer is on the first fingered note. It's on the first tape. Second note is second position. This is third position, fourth position, and so on and so forth. So for the remainder of this book, we're only really going to work on fourth positions because they're used most common, but there are many, many more. And as you get into really advanced music and scales, you go up pretty high up. All right, so now we're going to learn to shift, so how to change position. This is very exciting and a day that I was looking forward to when I was young and I learned. Shifting was very cool and something I look forward to very much. So for your left hand to change its position, you must be able to control and change the amount of pressure that your left hand fingers and hand are exerting on the neck of the violin. If your left hand is extremely tight, you will not be able to shift and change positions. You keep hearing me saying the same thing, that it's important to make sure you relax, that you check your posture, that your shoulders aren't up. It really makes a big difference. If you're squeezing and if you're working really hard, number 1, things are going to hurt. Number 2, you potentially could also damage your nerves. You get carpal tunnel or tendonitis, which are really, really bad things. And then also you're not going to be able to move your hands properly to make beautiful music and play the violin. So it's really important to always be able to control how much tension you're exerting, and you do need tension. If you recall earlier in the lessons, tension isn't bad, but excessive and uncontrolled tension is. And the reason why it's so difficult to stay relaxed when we play the violin is the way that our body works. When we have to apply pressure, whether it's we're walking with our feet or we're grabbing something, we tend to engage all the muscles. And we have about 600 muscles in our body. And our job is to have strong fingers, but relaxed rest of the arm and back and shoulder. All right, so here are the steps for changing position. So number one, you need to make sure your left hand is open. You can't shift if you're grabbing the violin like this. You physically can't move. So you got to make sure your left hand is open. You need to release the finger pressure. If your fingers are squeezing like crazy, you're just simply not going to be able to slide. You're going to slide the entire hand. One of the most common mistakes when we learn shifting is we just slide the finger, but the hand stays back. That's not a shift. That's just a move of the finger. So a shift doesn't involve the entire hand. You can think of it as you just move your hand closer, move your hand back, closer and back, right? So while sliding, make sure you are feeling how far you're traveling, right? You're going to use the sense of touch, similar to using a trackpad on a laptop, right? So we can look at it, we can hear the slide, and also we can feel it. Right? And once you reach your desired destination, apply finger pressure enough to press the string firmly against the fingerboard, but not so much as to lock and tighten your left fingers, hand, and shoulder. So this is a rule. The position of the index finger means the position you're in. Right? So for example, if we take the string in half, right, between the bridge and the nut, so from the open string, this is an octave. But fingering wise, because we start with the first tape, that's first, and then the second or the third note is second tape. So this is not eighth position, this is seventh position, right? So a really cool thing to keep in mind is that the octave, which is also the harmonic, and we're going to learn about harmonics later in the book, that is your seventh position, right? So let's see what we have next. All right, so first I'm going to turn around and I'm just going to show you on the G string what everything that we just read meant. So we're going to go from first to third position. So this is 1 on G. So I have to apply pressure on the string to make sure that it doesn't do this, right? If I don't press the string enough, it's not going to work. So I apply pressure. Now I'm going to release the pressure. My finger is on the string, but I'm not pressing it down. I'm going to release the pressure in my entire hand. My thumb, my knuckle, and my finger pad. Slide, and then press again. Right, so again, press, release, slide. So to do this more smoothly would be, right, so you notice how I released the pressure, and then I pressed again. All right, so this is number 71, learning to shift how to change positions. So this is rehearsal A. We're going to go up on the A string, A, B, C sharp, D, and then we're going to come down. And then we're going to mimic or imitate the same notes, but sliding our hand. Remember, do not slide just a finger. That's not a shift. The entire hand. So here's a trick. Make sure that your pointer and your thumb travel together. Don't let the one slide up and leave the thumb behind. That's not a shift. Everybody must come, right? No person and no one gets left behind. No finger gets left behind. So this is exercise A of lesson 71. Slide, slide. So you notice how I try to slide when I change the bow. That way the slide does not become too obvious. Here's rehearsal B. Now it's the same similar thing, but now we add slurs. So you notice what we did is we played first B, C sharp. We played with the second finger, that so that we could see it, we could hear it, and we could feel it. And then we slid to the same note. Then we played the third finger, the D, and then we slid to the same note. Right? So this is now rehearsal C. We're going to go from first, second, and third position. And then we're going to finish by going back down to second, back to first. Slide 2 seconds. So your first pointer, your finger, should be on the second tape, and the D, the 2 now, should be on the third tape or half step above. So this is the second position of exercise C on page 62. Half step, whole step, whole step, slide to the third tape, 1 is on D, whole step, whole step, whole step. So because we have a major on the key signature, so it should also be whole steps between all your fingers, 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. So this is third position, exercise C on page 62. We're going to slide back a half step to the second tape, C sharp 1, half step for 2 now, whole step, whole step. Now we're going to slide back down a whole step back to first. So number 72, now we're going to do changing positions on A string, and this is A major. Now this exercise is a little bit strange. I will agree to that 100%, but the idea is just to practice going into high positions using a scale that we already know. So first, let's play our A major, Whistler 2. So we're essentially going to play the same notes, but now instead of going from open A, we're going to go from the B to the same notes. We're going to slide up and slide back down. And you'll notice how the entire time my whole hand slides up, my thumb is not behind, my thumb is not here, right? And I also try to relax. So this is the rest of the page, starting from rehearsal B, or exercise B. Now, if you feel like this exercise is just way too crazy, it's way too hard, there's no way that you can accomplish or do this, no worries at all. You can skip it and move ahead. The idea is I wanted to give as much as possible as in terms of difficulty, from super easy to really, really hard, right? And you can take what you need from it, and you could just skip to the stuff that you don't need. So if you feel like this is not serving your purpose of helping you and just confusing you, skip it ahead, and you can come back to this always later. So next we're going to do changing positions on A string and A minor. So this will be notes with no sharps. Again, it will sound a little strange, but again, just the idea is we're getting used to moving around up high, right? Now, whether you go to 7th, 8th, or 9th position, just for the purpose of sliding your finger, even though it sounds really hard, it's actually not too bad because you're just sliding up, right? And then keep your thumb under the neck at all times. So even if you go up high, the reason why the violin is round everywhere is we can easily come around, right? Don't get stuck here. The thumb then goes under and up. All right, so this is number 73 in A minor. And I don't know if you heard, I think I might have missed that F natural there, so this is very difficult. I think I missed that before. But that's the idea. Again, if you can get the notes, that's okay. Even if you just want to freely slide around, that's totally cool. The idea is just to get used to sliding and not locking up the hand. You notice I kept shaking my hand just to make sure I'm nice and relaxed. So 74. Things are going to get a lot easier. This is D major scale and arpeggio in 2 octaves. So this is actually where you would see music a lot more accurately. We're going to think through this. So we start with open D, and we just play a D scale. Now, instead of the third finger on the H, I'm going to slide a 1 to the third position, and then we're going to keep going up the scale with one small change. The notes in third position, so A, B, C sharp, G. If we put 1 on D on the A string and a third note or tape, we're in third position. The notes are in D major, D, E. The next note is F sharp, so we have to play a high 3, and then a half step. All right, so we're going to play the D major scale, 2 octaves, with 1 shift on the A string. Generally speaking, when we have to shift, we will always shift after a 2. So we try to shift after the middle finger to a 1. D major scale, 2 octaves. And you're probably wondering, how does it make it look so easy, and also that the shifting is very difficult? The shifting could probably be an entire book all in itself, but basically just know that you have to press the note, you have to release the pressure, slide up, and then continue playing. It is difficult, it is challenging, but I highly urge you to just play some of these exercises, and also the songs in further lessons are way easier because we're going to do a song that you already know, and we're going to go through positions. So if this is all a little confusing, please don't worry, just move on and come back to this if you feel like you're up for this challenge as well. So this is D major scale, this is D major arpeggio now. Now for this one, we're going to skip the open A, and during the open A, we're going to slide and place a 1 where the third finger was, and that is a third position, and then we're going to play F sharp, which is a high 3. So this is lesson 74. This is the second line, the D major 2 octave arpeggio. All right, so a little fun fact now. You can use markers on the violin to get close to the desired position. And again, this will mostly apply to 4/4 violin, but this should be true for all the other sizes as well. So your fifth position, right? So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Your fifth position is right where the violin body starts. So if you look at the violin, you notice how this is your neck and this is the body. So if you place your finger here, that's going to be your fifth position. And if you go like an inch past the violin's body, like right here, that is seventh position. That is the halfway division of the string. So you don't have to use tapes or dots or any kind of markers. You can actually use the violin's geography, right? So if you're right before the body of the violin on the neck, that's fifth position. And if you're like an inch or so, right, you're in seventh position. Now again, will this give you an exact proper noting tune? Definitely not, but you get you close enough. All right, so next, number 75, we're going to do an E flat major scale and arpeggio in 2 octaves, just to give you an idea of how this goes. And E flat major, we're going to start with the low 1 on D, and now we're going to shift after third finger on A, we're going to shift to fourth position, and we're going to do the same thing. So this one is actually kind of cool because between 1, 2, and 3 are 2 whole steps, and then your 4 is a half step, and that stays true for D string, A string, A string in third position, fourth position, and E string in fourth position. So the pattern for this entire scale is whole step between 1 and 2, and then whole step between 2 and 3, and then a half step between 3 and 4. Okay, so here's E flat major, scale and arpeggio, number 75. So you notice for the arpeggio, we had a low 1 and we shifted to fourth position. So it's a 1-1. And the way to practice shifts is on a slur. And you want to make sure that you see it, you feel it, and you hear it. You feel how far you're going, you're listening to how far you're going, and you also are looking. So if I were to practice this for real, I would play through the scale, and I will play the shift. And the way we practice the shift in the scale, I would go to the D natural. If you remember, we make mistakes when there are changes, and shifts are the hardest changes for us to do. So anytime you have shifts in your music, make sure you practice them by themselves. I hope this is all making sense. In the next section, we get to learn familiar songs through the first 4 positions. So hopefully that will make a lot more sense if this didn't. Thank you for watching. I know this is getting really complicated. We're getting into the weeds of how the violin and why it's so difficult. But being introduced to this and at least having a concept of this is really helpful. So I'll see you in the next lesson. Thanks for watching.